Hello friends, today we'll start about agriculture chapter 4 NCERT class 10. So India is an agricultural country and two-thirds of its population is engaged in agriculture. You all know that two-thirds of the population of India is engaged in agricultural activities. So agriculture is the primary activity which produces most of the food. So two-thirds of the population is agriculture. So two-thirds of the population is engaged in agricultural activities, and agriculture is the main primary activity, and it produces most of the food that we consume. Beside food grains, it also produces the raw materials for various industries. It produces food grains and raw materials for various industries. This is the number 1 and this is number 0.2. Okay. Now can you name some industries based on agricultural raw materials? There's some agricultural products like tea, coffee and spices. These are also exported. Now the different types of farming. Now over the years, cultivation method have changed significantly. Now primarily before, so this 30 years before, there's a type of cultivation method in which people are accustomed to, or farmers were accustomed to. Now due to technical innovations and enhancement of technological know-how, various research and social economical practice, social cultural practice, and thus characteristics of physical environment, this method of cultivation have changed significantly, and it depends upon these three factors. These are the characteristics of the physical environment. Number 2 is the technological know-how, and number 3 is the socio-cultural practice. Now there are two types of farming. It varies from subsistence to commercial type. Subsistence to commercial at present in different parts of India. This following the system of farming. Now what are the types of farming? There are different types of farming. One is subsistence and another is commercial. And another is commercial. Now subsistence can be classified into two types. One is primitive and another is intensive. Primitive and another is intensive. Now intensive can be classified into two types. These are shifting cultivation and nomadic hardy. Commercial is divided into three types there. So let us take a different color. Commercial. One is commercial gain Second one is the mixed farming. The third one is plantation agriculture. Plantation agriculture. So these are the types of farming. Now this primitive subsistence agriculture is practiced on small patches of land with the help of primitive tools like hoe, dowel and digging sticks. This primitive. This type of farming depends upon monsoon, natural fertility of the soil and stability of other environmental conditions to the crops grown. It is a slash and burn agriculture. So I repeat once again, the primitive subsistence farming is this type is practiced in small patches of land with the help of primitive tools like hoe. With the help of primitive tools like hoe, dowel and digging sticks, and family or the community level. And this type of farming depends upon monsoons, natural fertility of the soil and suitability of other environmental conditions to the crops grown. So it depends upon the natural fertility of the soil and suitability of other environmental conditions to the crops grown. Now it is also known as the slash and burn agriculture. So farmers clear a patch of land and produce cereals and other food crops to sustain their family. They produce the small patches of land, clear a small patch of land. When the soil fertility decreases, the farmers shift and clear a fresh patch of land. That means from one place, these are patches of land, they clear it. Now when the fertility of this place decreases, then they shift to another patch of land. These they clear it and grow fresh trees or fresh crops. Now the advantage of this type of shifting allows nature to replenish the fertility of the soil. Fertility of the soil through natural process. Land productivity in this type of agriculture is very low as the farmer does not use fertilizers. They do not use fertilizers or other modern inputs. So no modern inputs. Why land productivity is low in this type of farming? The farmer do not use fertilizers, remind it, and they do not use modern technological know-how for this type of farming. In different parts of the country, it is known by different names. In northeastern states like Assam, Meghalaya, Mizoram and Nagaland, it is properly known as Jhuming. Pamlao in Manipur is known as Pamlao in Manipur. Dipa in Bastar districts of Chhattisgarh and in Andaman and Nicobar Island. So it is known as Jhuming in northeastern states like Assam, Meghalaya, Mizoram and Nagaland. Pamlao in Manipur and Dipa in Bastar districts of Chhattisgarh and in Andaman and Nicobar. Okay. Now we have studied the slash and burn agriculture It is known as the milpa in Mexico and Central America. Milpa in Mexico and Central America. You remember this name? Conuco in Venezuela. Roca in Brazil. Masole in Central Africa. And Ladang in Indonesia. And Ray in Vietnam. So these names you must remember. This Roca in Brazil, Masole in Central Africa, and Ladang in Indonesia, and Ray in Vietnam. Now in India, the primitive form of cultivation is called the bivar or dahiya. This primitive form of cultivation in India is known as the bivar or dahiya in Madhya Pradesh, Podu or Pinda in Andhra Pradesh, Pamadabi or Koman or Bringa in Odisha, now it is known as Odisha, Kumari in the Western Ghats, Valri or Walter in southeastern Rajasthan, or Khil in the Himalaya belt, Kurwa in Jharkhand. Here you are given a short story. Ringza lived with her family in a small village at the outskirts of Dipu in Assam. She enjoys watching her family members clearing, slashing and burning a patch of land for cultivation. She often helps them in irrigating the fields with water running through a bamboo canal from the nearby spring. She loves the surrounding and wants to stay here as long as she can. But this little girl has no idea about the declining fertility of the soil and her family's search for fresh patch of land in the next season. So here you are given that can you name the type of the farming Ringer's family is engaged in? We have already studied here. There is the shifting cultivations. There is the primitive type of cultivations. I'll try to enlist some crops which are grown in such type of farming. Now we'll come to intensive farming. It falls under subsistence intensive farming. This type of farming is practiced in areas of high population, where there is high population. This labor intensive farming. This is labor intensive farming. From the name itself is intensive farming, where high doses of biochemical inputs and irrigation are used for obtaining higher production. Now, to get higher production, what are used is high doses of biochemical inputs, means fertilizers, and irrigations are used for obtaining higher production. Now you have to name some states of India where such type of farming is practiced. So we'll come about it later on when you will be able to give the answers of your own. Now, though the right of inheritance means leading to the division of land among successive generations has rendered land holding size uneconomical. Suppose you were having a family land some 4 generations before this much. Now, in that generation, 4 generations before, suppose 4 generations before, so their 2 brothers, or this is divided into 2 parts in that generation, in the family, 2 groups. Now in the next generation, this particular group now this is two group, so group 1 and group 2. This group 1 is again subdivided into 2 or 4 as per the number of inheritance, and this same thing happens here. It is, suppose this group may be divided into 5. Now in the next generation, this little group may be further divided into another 6. So this division among generations has rendered the landholding size uneconomical. This becomes small due to division of the land. The farmers continue to take maximum output from the limited land in the absence of alternative source of livelihood. So the farmers who work in the field, they do not have any alternative source of livelihood, and rather they have to do farming in the small part of the land. And this is an enormous pressure. This is an enormous pressure on agricultural land. Enormous pressure on agricultural land. So next is the commercial farming. Now the main characteristics of this type of farming is commercial farming is the use of higher doses of modern input. So this is, you can write this point number 1. Example, high yielding variety HYV, high yielding variety seeds means it gives good yield. And these seeds, suppose you are producing brinjal, these seeds can produce a brinjal of about a size of about 400 grams. These are high yielding variety seeds. Good chemical fertilizers are used. Good chemical, this may be, you can give this point 2. Insecticides and pesticides in order to obtain higher productivity. So to obtain higher productivity, these are the 3 steps followed by the farmers. The degree of commercialization of one region to another of agriculture varies from one region to another. Means this is a place and this is a different place. So the degree of commercialization, how much commercialization is done in this place, it may not be equal for a different place. For example, rice is a commercial crop in Haryana and Punjab, but in Odisha means Odisha, it is a subsistence crop. Example, rice is commercial in Haryana and Punjab. On the other hand, the same rice is subsistence in Odisha. So got my point. Now plantation is also a type of commercial farming. In this type of farming, a single crop is grown on a large area. In plantation type, single crop over a large area. This is a large area. So single crop is grown on a large area. The plantation has an interface of agriculture and industry. Plantations cover large tracts of land using capital intensive inputs with the help of migrant laborers. All the produce is used as raw material in respective industries. So this production used as raw materials. All the production means this all production. All production means there may be a plantation, separate plantation for another crop year. Okay, there may be a separate plantations. So this is used. This type of plantation may be used for another industry. For another industry. In India, tea, coffee, rubber, sugarcane, banana are important plantation crops. Tea, coffee, rubber, sugarcane. Now tea in Assam and in North Bengal. So coffee in Karnataka are some of the important plantation crops grown in these states. Since the production is mainly for market, a well-developed network of transport and communication connecting the plantation areas, processing industries and market plays an important role in the development of plantation. So since this type of production is market oriented. This type of production is market oriented. So market oriented. A well-developed network of transport. So from here to our industry, well-developed transport. It may be road, it may be rail, it may be water transport, it may be air transport. It must be so. This transport system must be well developed. Must be well developed. Transport and communication connecting the plantations, processing industries and market. So this is an important role in the development of plantation. So plantation will develop if there is a good transport or the communication systems in these areas, so that this produce can move to the desired industry for. Now what is the cropping pattern? So the physical diversities and the plurality of cultures in India means different type of cultures, physical diversity of different places, climate of different places, they put an impact on the in agricultural practices. What type of agricultural practice will be followed in that particular area? It varies due to weather and climate of that particular places. The cropping patterns in the country varies from place to place. Various types of food and fiber crops, vegetables, fruits, spices and condiments, etc. constitute some of the important crops grown in the country. So these are some of the important crops that are grown in the country. And the three cropping seasons in India are Rabi, Kharif and the Zaid. Rabi, Kharif and the Zaid. Rabi crops are sown in winter from October to December. So Rabi crops, these are sown in winter from October to December. And these are harvested in summer, from April to June. April to June. So some of the important rabi crops are wheat, barley, peas, gram, and mustard. These are some of the important rabi crops. These crops are grown in larger parts of India, states from the north and northwestern parts such as Punjab, Haryana, Himachal Pradesh, Jammu. So if this is a map of India, so these are the places where these are cultivated. Haryana, Jammu Kashmir, Uttarakhand, UP are some of the important places where this rabi crop is cultivated. Now, availability of precipitation during winter months due to western temperate cyclones helps in the success of these crops. Means due to rainfall during winter months due to western temperate climate, means this is the eastern side and this is the western side. So due to these westerly winds in the winter, there is some amount of precipitation, and what these helps for the crop. Western temperate cyclones helps in the success of these crops. However, the success of the Green Revolution in Punjab, Haryana, Western UP, the success of Green Revolution in Punjab, Haryana, and Western UP and parts of Rajasthan has also been an important factor in the growth of the above mentioned rabi crop. The success of the Green Revolutions. This is another point. Now is the Kharif crops. These Kharif crops are grown in the onset of monsoon in different parts of the country, and these are harvested in September and October. This Kharif, these are harvested during September to October. It means onset of monsoons means June, May, June, or something about June or something like that, from June onwards. The important crops grown during this season are paddy, maize, jowar, bajra, tur, there is arhar dal, we call it, moong, dal, oat dal, and cotton, jute, groundnut, soybean. These are all kharif crops. So you must run this example of kharif crops when it is harvested in the month of September and October, and these are grown in the onset of monsoon, in the onset of monsoon. Now some of the most important rice growing regions are Assam, West Bengal, coastal regions of Odisha, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Maharashtra, particularly in the Konkan along the UP. These are the Konkan, these are the other places where these are cultivated. And it is due to these monsoons. In states like Assam, West Bengal and Odisha, these crops of paddy are grown in a year. These are Aus, Amon and Boro. Now in between the Rabi and the Kharif, there is another season. In between the Rabi and the Kharif, There is another season, we call it the Zihad, Zaid season, Zaid, Zaid. There is a sword in table. This period is called the Zaid. And during this period, these crops are grown: watermelon, muskmelon, cucumber, vegetables, and fodder crops. Sugarcane takes almost a year to grow. Sugarcane takes is very important. It's almost a year to grow. Now the major crops. A variety of food and non-food crops are grown in different parts of the country depending upon the variations in soil, climate, and cultivation practice. We have already learned that this variation is due to the weather of a place, soil availability of soil in a place, the cultivation activities or the cultivation practices of a place, this rainfall, temperature, they all comes in the weather. So these are all the reasons. Now major crops grown in India are, is very important: rice, wheat, millet, pulses, tea, coffee, sugarcane, oil, seeds, cotton, jute, etc. Now let us study about the rice. So we know it is a staple food crop of a majority of the people in India. Rice nowadays is a staple food crop of the majority of the people in India. Our country is the second largest producer of rice in the world after China. So first producer is China, next is the India. After China comes India. China is number 1 and India is at number 2. It is a kharif crop which requires high temperature. So rice is a kharif crop and it requires high temperature above 25 degrees centigrade. Temperature, its temperature for rice is above 25 degrees centigrade. It requires high humidity, annual rainfall about 100 centimeter. In the areas of less rainfall, irrigation practice it requires, means a lot of water supply through canals, dams. Rice is grown in plains of north and northeastern India. So this is the place where rice is grown mainly. In some parts of Kerala, Tamil Nadu, these are the places. Mainly the coastal areas. You can see the coastal areas and the monsoons are available. And the deltaic region. Now development of dense network of canal regions and tubewells have made it possible to grow rice in areas of less rainfall. So in areas of less rainfall, the development of canal irrigation and tubewells have made it possible, such as in Punjab, Haryana and western UP and parts of Rajasthan. Next comes about we will talk about the wheat. This is the second most important cereal crop. It's the second most important. Now you know it is the main food crop in north and northwestern part of the country. It is a rabi crop. Wheat is the rabi crop. It requires a cool growing season. Wheat requires a cool growing season, a bright sunshine during ripening, 50 to 75 centimeter annual rainfall, So this is point 1, this is 2, this is 3. Rainfall evenly distributed over the growing season. There are two important wheat growing zones in the country. Two important wheat growing zones in the country are the Ganga Satluj plains in the northwest and black soil regions of the Deccan. And the major wheat producing states are Punjab, Haryana, UP, Bihar, Rajasthan and parts of Madhya Pradesh. Now millets, these are jowar, bajra and ragi. These are important millets grown in India. Though these are known as the coarse grains, they have very high nutritional value. The millets have very high nutritional value. For example, ragi is very rich in iron, calcium and other micronutrients and roughage. So ragi contains iron, calcium, iron, calcium, other micronutrients and roughage. Jowar is the third most important food crop with respect to area and production. So third most important food crop with respect to area and production. It is a rain-fed crop mostly grown in the moist areas, means where there is humidity which hardly needs irrigation. Jowar is mainly produced in Maharashtra, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh. So to state about jowar, now bajra grows well on sandy soils and shallow black soil. Now major bajra producing states are Rajasthan, UP, Maharashtra, Gujarat and Haryana. So ragi is a crop of dry regions and grow well on red, black, sandy, loamy and shallow black soils. Now major ragi producing states are Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Sikkim, Jharkhand and Arunachal Pradesh. Next we will talk about maize. Maize is a crop which is used both as food and fodder. It is a kharif crop which requires temperature between 20 and 27 degrees centigrade. This maize is a kharif crop. Grows well in old alluvial soil. In some states like Bihar, maize is grown in rabi seasons also. In some states like Bihar, these often some states like Bihar, maize is grown in rabi season. Now, the use of modern inputs such as HYB, high yielding variety seeds, fertilizers and irrigations have contributed to the increasing production of maize. Major maize producing states are Karnataka, UP, Bihar, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana and Madhya Pradesh. Now India is the largest producer as well as the consumer of pulses in the world. So for pulses, India is the largest producer. This is the largest producer chain. This is India. They are the major consumers also. They are the major protein saints in a vegetarian diet. It's a major protein source. We can get maximum protein. It contains a lot of protein in it. There are major portions of the types of pulses there. The two, we call it ahar, oat, moong, masoor, peas and gram. Now these pulses, they need very less moisture and survive even in dry conditions. They need very less moisture They survive even in dry conditions. They are leguminous crops. All these crops, except other, help in restoring soil fertility by fixing nitrogen from the air. This is a leguminous specialty of the leguminous crops. By fixing nitrogen from the air, the soil fertility is restored. They are mostly grown in rotation and other crops. Major pulse producing states in India are MP, UP, Rajasthan, Maharashtra, and Karnataka. Now we have studied about grains. Now let us study about sugarcane. Of course, it is not a grain. It is a tropical as well as a subtropical crop. It grows well in hot and humid climate. Temperature required is 21 degrees centigrade to 23 degrees centigrade. Annual rainfall between 75 and 100 centimeters. Now we know very well this is a common thing. Means where there is low rainfall, irrigation is required. The same case happens in case of sugar also. This irrigation is required in the regions of low rainfall. And it can be grown on a variety of soils, and it needs manual labor from sowing to harvesting. India is the second largest producer of sugarcane, only after Brazil. First producer is Brazil. This sugarcane first is Brazil and second is India. Now from sugarcane, sugar, gur, this is also called as jaggery, kansari, molasses. These are the items produced from sugar. So the major sugarcane producing states are UP, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Bihar, Punjab, Haryana. So we have studied about sugar. Now let us come to oilseeds. In 2014, India was the second largest producer of groundnut in the world after China. It is in the year 2014. Rapeseed is a type of oilseed, and we are familiar with rapeseed oil. India was third largest producer in the world after Canada and China. After Canada and China, India is the third largest producer of rapeseed in 2014. Now, total 12% of the total crop area of the country, different oil seeds are grown. So main oil seeds that are produced in India are the groundnut, mustard, coconut, sesame, we call it til, soybean oil, castor seed oil, cotton seed oil, linseed oil, and the sunflower oil. And most of these are edible and used as cooking mediums. However, some of these are also used as raw material in the production of soap, cosmetics, and ointments. So this groundnut, this groundnut is a kharif crop. This groundnut is a kharif crop. and accounts for about half of the major oilseeds produced in the country. This total oilseeds that are produced in the country, this groundnut, which is the kharif crop, is the 50%. And Gujarat was the largest producer of groundnut, followed by Rajasthan and Tamil Nadu in 2015-16, and linseed and mustard are the rabi crops. Sesame is a kharif crop. There is a til. Now sesame is a kharif crop in the north and a rabi crop in South India. Castor seed is grown both as rabi and the kharif crop. Next we'll come to tea. So tea cultivation is an example of plantation agriculture. It is an important beverage crop also. It is introduced initially by the British. Most of the tea plantations are owned by the Indians. Tea plants grow well in tropical and subtropical climates, endowed with deep and fertile, well-drained soil. They are rich in humus and organic matter. Tea bushes require warm and moist, frost-free climate all throughout the year. Now these tender leaves grow. Good tender leaves used to grow due to frequent showers evenly distributed over the year. Tea is a labor-intensive industry. It is a labor-intensive, and it requires abundant, cheap and skilled labor. Tea is processed within the tea garden to restore its freshness. So major tea producing states are Assam, hills of Darjeeling, mainly North Bengal, Jalpaiguri districts. These are in West Bengal. It is grown in some parts of Tamil Nadu, Kerala. These are the hilly regions. Apart from this, tea is also grown in Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Meghalaya, Andhra Pradesh and Tripura. Nowadays is also producing teas. In 2014, India was the second largest producer in tea after China. So coffee, India produced 3.5% of the world coffee production. Indian coffee in the world is known for its good quality. This Arabica variety, initially brought from Yemen, is produced in the country. This variety is a great demand all over the world. Initially, its cultivation was introduced on the Baba Budan hills, and even today its cultivation is confined to the Nilgiri in Karnataka, Kerala and in Tamil Nadu. Now these are horticulture crops. Next we come out to horticulture crops. In 2014, India was the second largest producer of fruits and vegetables. In the world after China, and India is a producer of tropical as well as temperate fruits. Now mangoes of Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, UP, West Bengal. Oranges of Nagpur, Cherrapunji, Meghalaya, bananas of Kerala, Mizoram, Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, and lychee and guava of UP and Bihar, of course. pineapples of Meghalaya, and grapes are of Andhra Pradesh. Now, Telangana and Maharashtra is also the producer of grapes, apples, pears, apricots, walnuts. These are mainly produced in Jammu and Kashmir and some parts of Himachal Pradesh, and they are of very rich variety and have a great demands all over the world. India produces about 13% of the world vegetables. This is an important producer of pea, cauliflower, onion, cabbage, tomato, brinjal, potato. Okay. Now this next we come about non-food crops. These non-food crops includes the rubber. It is an equatorial crop, but under special conditions it requires moist and humid climate with rainfall of more than 200 cm and temperature above 25 degrees centigrade. It is an important industrial raw material. It is mainly grown in Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Andaman and Nicobar Island and Gero Hills of Meghalaya. In 2012-13, India ranked 4th among the world's natural rubber production. Now these are some of the items which are made of rubber and used by us, and the given percentage you will be able to see that maximum these rubbers are used in tires and tubes, and minimum as latex foam, and in some other industries it is 4.7%. Next is the fiber crop. These are the cotton, jute, hemp, natural silk are the 4 major fiber crops grown in India. Cotton, jute, hemp and natural silk. First 3 are derived from the crops grown in the soil. Latter is obtained from cocoons of the silkworm, you all know. These silkworms, they feed on green leaves, especially the mulberry leaves. Now, rearing of silkworms for the production of silk fiber is known as the sericulture. What is sericulture? Next we come to cotton. India is believed to be the original home of the cotton plant. It's one of the main raw material of cotton textile industry. In 2014, India was second largest producer of cotton after China. Now, it grows well in drier parts of the black cotton soil. The black cotton soil is required for the production of the cotton. It is in the Deccan Plateau. It requires high temperature. These are the requirements for the cotton industry. It requires high temperature, light rainfall or irrigation. 210 frost-free days, bright sunshine. This is number 3. This is number 4. Now it is of course a kharif crop and requires 6 to 8 months to mature. Major cotton producing states are Maharashtra, Gujarat, MP, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Tamil Nadu, Punjab, Haryana, UP. Now jute is also known as the golden fiber. Jute is known as golden fiber. It grows well on well-drained fertile soils in the flat plains where soils are renewed every year. High temperature is required during the time of growth for jute. So high temperature is required during the time of its growth. Well and fertile soils. Places where soils are renewed every year. High temperature is required during the time of growth. It is mainly grown in West Bengal, Bihar, Assam, Odisha and Meghalaya, major jute producing state, and it is used in making gunny bags, mats, ropes, yarn, carpets and other artifacts. Due to its high cost, it is losing market to synthetic fibers and packing materials, particularly the nylon. Now this is the very bad fate of jute industries. They are becoming sick due to these reasons. Agriculture has been practiced in India for thousands of years before. Sustained uses of land without compatibility techno-institutional changes have hindered the pace of the agricultural development. In spite of development of source of irrigation, most of the farmers in large parts of the country still depend upon the monsoons and natural fertility in order to carry out the agriculture. That means they depend on the nature maximum times. And this is a serious challenge. Whenever a monsoons or rain fails in that particular place, the crop gets hampered. Since agriculture provides livelihood for more than 60% of its population of India, it needs some serious technical and institutional reforms to be followed. Thus, collectivizations, consolidations of holdings, cooperation and abolition of zamindari etc. were given priority to bring about institutional reforms. So these are the institutional reforms: collectivization, consolidations of holding, cooperation, abolition of zamindari. And this is done after independence. And land reform was the main focus of the first 5-year plan of the country after independence. The right of inheritance had already led to the fragmentation of land holdings, necessitating consolidations of holdings. This we have already studied earlier. The laws of the land reforms were enacted, but the implementation was lacking or in a very slow pace, in the lukewarm pace. The government of India embarked upon introducing agricultural reforms to improve Indian agriculture in the 1960s and 70s. The Green Revolution is based on the use of package technology, and the White Revolution or the Operation Flood were some of the strategies. So Green Revolutions is based on the use of package technology, whereas White Revolutions is also known as Operation Flood, were some of the strategies initiated to improve the lot of Indian agriculture. But these two led to the concentration of development in few selected areas. Therefore, in the 1980s and 1990s, a comprehensive land development program was initiated, which included both institutional and technical reforms. The provision for crop insurance against drought, flood, cyclone, fire, disease, establishment of Grameen banks, cooperative societies, banks for providing loan facilities to the farmers at lower rates of interest were some important steps in the direction. Now, Kisan Credit Card were introduced, Personal Accident Insurance Scheme (PAIS). These are some of the schemes introduced by the government of India for the development and benefit of the farmers. Now, special weather bulletins have been arranged for making several programs for farmers via radio and televisions. The government also introduced or announces minimum support price, remunerative and procurement price for important crops to check the exploitation of farmers by speculators and middlemen. Now this Bhudan and Gramdan Mahatma Gandhi declared Vinoba Bhave as his spiritual hero. He also participated in Satyagraha as one of the foremost Satyagrahis. He was one of the votaries of Gandhi's concept of Gram Swarajya. After Gandhiji's martyrdom, Vinoba Bhave undertook Padayatra to spread Gandhi's message, covered almost the entire country. Once, when he was delivering a lecture at Pochampalli in Andhra Pradesh, some poor landless villagers demanded some land for their economic well-being. Vinoba Bhave could not promise it to them immediately, but assured them to talk to the government of India regarding provision of land for them if they undertook cooperative farming. Suddenly, Sri Ramchandra Reddy stood up and offered 80 acres of land to be distributed among 80 landless villages. This act is known as the Bhudan. Later, he travelled and introduced his ideas widely all over India. Some zamindars, owners of many villages, offered to distribute some village among the landless, and this is also known as Gram Dan. Dan means to give and Gram means village. Dan means to give and Gram means village. However, many landowners choose to provide some part of the land to the poor farmers due to the fear of Land Ceiling Act. This Bhudan Gamdan movement initiated by Vinoba Bhave is also known as bloodless revolution. So you may be asked, what is bloodless revolution? So the Bhudan Gamdan movement initiated by Vinoba Bhave is known as bloodless revolution because no war was fought for this revolution. Now, contribution of agriculture to the national economy, employment and output. Agriculture has been the backbone of the Indian economy through its shares in the gross domestic product (GDP). It has registered a declining trend from 1951 onwards. In 2010-11, about 52% of the total workforce was employed by the farm sector, which makes more than half of the Indian population dependent on agriculture for sustenance. The declining share of agriculture in the GDP is a matter of serious concern because any decline and stagnation in agriculture will lead to a decline in other spheres of the economy, having wider implications of the society, and this is due to a large percentage of Indian population depends on agriculture. Now, considering the importance of agriculture in India, the government of India made constant efforts to modernize agriculture. Establishment of Indian Council of Agriculture Research, that is called ICAR. Agricultural universities, veterinary services and animal breeding centers, horticulture development, research and development in the field of meteorology, weather forecast were given priority for improving Indian agriculture. So these are certain steps taken for the development of agriculture. Apart from this, improving and rural infrastructure is also considered essential for the same. Rural infrastructure was also considered essential for the same. Now, from the table 4.1, it is clear that though the GDP growth rate is increasing over the years, it is not generating sufficient employment opportunities in the country. The growth rate in agriculture has been decelerating, which is an alarming situation. Today, Indian farmers are facing a big challenge from international competition and reduction in the public investment in agricultural sector. Subsidy on fertilizer is decreased, leading to increase in the cost of production. Moreover, reduction in import duties on agricultural products have proved detrimental to agriculture in the country. Farmers are withdrawing their investment from agriculture, causing a downfall in the employment in agriculture. Now, we know that food is a basic need and every citizen of the country should have access to food which provides minimum nutritional level. If any segment of our population does not have this access, the segment suffers from lack of food security. Number of people who do not have food security is disproportionately large in some regions of our country, particularly in economically less developed states with higher incidence of poverty. Remote areas of the country are more prone to natural disasters and uncertain food supply. So, in order to ensure availability of food to all sections of the society, our government carefully designed a national food security system. It consists of two components, that is buffer stock and public distribution system, PDS. Which provides food grains and other essential commodity at subsidized prices to below poverty line population in rural and urban areas. BPL is below poverty line. India's food security policy has a primary objective to ensure availability of food grains to the common people at an affordable price. It has enabled the poor to have access to food. So the focus of the policy is on growth in agricultural production and on fixing the support price for procurement of wheat and rice to maintain the stocks. FCI, or the Food Corporation of India, is responsible for procuring and stocking food grains, whereas distribution is done by public distributor system, or the PDS. For procuring is done by FCI, and for distribution it is done by the PDS. The FCI procures food grains from the farmers at the government announced minimum support price. The government used to provide subsidies on agriculture inputs such as agriculture, power and water. These subsidies have now reached unsustainable levels and have also led to large-scale inefficiencies in the use of these scarce imports. So excessive and imprudent use of fertilizers and water has led to waterlogging, salinity and depletion of essential micronutrients in the soil. The high MSP subsidies in input and committed FCI purchases have distorted the cropping pattern. The FCI purchases have distorted the cropping pattern. Note it. Wheat and paddy crops are being grown more for the MSP they get. Punjab and Haryana are foremost example. This has also created a serious imbalance in intercrop parties. You already know that the consumers are divided into two categories, BPL and APL. This is called below poverty line and above poverty line, with the issue price being different for each category. However, this categorization is not perfect and a number of deserving poor have been excluded from the BPL category. Moreover, some of the so-called APL slip back to BPL because of the failure of even one crop, and it is administratively difficult to accommodate such shift. Each district and blocks can be made self-sufficient in food grain production if government provides agriculture infrastructure, credit linkages, and also encourages the use of latest technique. Instead of concentrating only on rice and wheat, the food crop with a better growth potential to that particular area must be encouraged. Creation of necessary infrastructure like irrigation facilities, availability of electricity, etc. may also attract this private investment in agriculture. Now, the focus on increasing food grain production, which should be on a sustainable basis, and also free trade in grains will create massive employment and reduce poverty in rural areas. This free trade in grains will create massive employment and reduce poverty in rural areas. There has been a gradual shift from cultivation of food grains to cultivation of fruits. Gradual shift from cultivation of food crops to cultivation of fruits, vegetables, oilseeds, and industrial crops. This has led to the reduction in net sown area under cereal and pulses. With the growing population in India, the declining food production, the population is growing, and it is growing population, whereas this food production is declining. The declining food production puts a big question mark over the country's future food security. Now, the FCI procures food grains from the farmers at the government announced minimum support price. That is called MSP. The government used to provide subsidies on agriculture inputs such as fertilizers, powers, and water. In this field, the government used to provide subsidies, fertilizers, power, and water. These subsidies have now reached unsustainable levels and also led to large-scale inefficiencies in the use of scarce input. Excessive and imprudent use of fertilizers and water has led to waterlogging, salinity, and depletion of essential micronutrients in the soil. Means micronutrients in the soil, the micronutrients in the soil goes on decreasing. The high MSP, that is the minimum support price, subsidies in input, and committed FCI Food Corporation of India purchase have distorted the cropping pattern. Wheat and paddy crops are being grown more for the MSP they get. Punjab and Haryana are the foremost examples. This has also created a serious imbalance in intercrop parities. Now, the consumers are divided into two categories: poverty, BPL, below poverty line, and above poverty line, APL, with the issue price being different for each category. However, this categorization is not perfect, and a number of deserving poor have been excluded from the BPL category. Moreover, some of the so-called APL slip back to BPL because of the failure of even one crop, and it is administratively difficult to accommodate such shift. Each districts and blocks can be made self-sufficient in food grain production if government provides proper agricultural infrastructure, linkages, and encourages the use of latest techniques. So instead of concentrating only on rice and wheat, the food crop with a better growth potential in that particular area must be encouraged. Creation of necessary infrastructure like irrigation, availability of electricity may also attract private investment in agriculture. Now, the focus on increasing food grain production, which should be on a sustainable basis, and also free trade in grains, will create massive employment and reduce poverty in rural areas. There has been a gradual shift from cultivation of food crops to cultivation of fruits, as we have already told you, vegetables, oilseeds, and industrial crops. This has led to the production in net sown area under the cereals and pulses. So areas where cereals and pulses are grown, there the area is reduced. Now, with the growing population of India, the declining food production puts a big question mark over the country's future food security. The competition for land. The growth potential in that particular area must be encouraged. Creation of necessary infrastructure like irrigation facilities, availability of electricity, etc., may also attract private investment in agriculture. Okay. Now, the focus on increasing food grain production, which should be on a sustainable basis, and also free trade in grains will create massive employment and reduce poverty in rural areas. There has been a gradual shift from cultivation of food crop to cultivation of fruits. I've already told you. Okay. Now, the competition for land between non-agricultural uses such as housing and agriculture has resulted in reduction in the not sown area. The productivity of land has started showing a declining trend. Fertilizers, pesticide, insecticide, which once showed dramatic results, are now being held responsible for degrading the soils. Means after long use, for prolonged use, it is degrading the quality of the soils. So periodic scarcity of water has led to reduction in area under irrigation. Insufficient water management has led to water logging and salinity. These are all the points. Now, one important reason is the land degradation. Free power to a section of farmers has encouraged them to pump groundwater. Is the free power from groundwater intensive crops in low rainfall areas such as rice in Punjab, sugarcane in Maharashtra. This unsustainable pumping has reduced water storage in aquifers. Consequently, many wells and tube wells have run dry. This has pushed the marginal and small farmers out of cultivation. Now, the big farmers with deeper tube wells, they have deeper tube wells, they invest a lot of money, they bore the soil up to the maximum depth, still have water. But many others face a water crisis at the same time. Inadequate storage and marketing facilities also act as a disincentive. Thus, the farmers are badly affected by the uncertainties of production and market. They suffer from a double disadvantage as they pay high prices for inputs such as HIV seeds, fertilizers, etc., but lack the bargaining power to fix prices in their favor. All the production reaches the market simultaneously. The higher the supply, the lower is the demand. This causes distressed sale also. Therefore, there can be no food security without the security of small farmers. The impact of globalization on agriculture. Globalization is now it's not a new phenomenon. We have already learned. It was there at the time of colonization in the 19th century when European traders came to India. At that time too, Indian spices were exported to different countries of the world, and farmers of South India were encouraged to grow these crops. Till today, it is one of the important items of export from India. During the British period, cotton belts of India attracted the British, and ultimately the cotton was exported to Britain as a raw material for the textile industries. Cotton textile industry in Manchester and Liverpool flourished due to availability of quality cotton from India. Now, we know the Champaran movement. This started in 1917 in Vier. Because of the farmers of that region were forced to grow indigo on their land because it was necessary for the textile industries which are located in Britain. So it is the requirement of the British. What happened at that time? These farmers were unable to grow food grains, minimum food grains to sustain their families. So under globalization, particularly after 1990, the farmers in India have been exposed to new challenges. So despite being important producer of rice, cotton, rubber, tea, coffee, jute, spices, and other of course agricultural products are not able to compete with the developed countries because of the highly subsidized agriculture in those countries. No, in those countries, these things are produced at highly subsidized rate. So in fact, today's Indian agriculture finds a place at the crossroads. To make agriculture successful and profitable, proper thrust is being given by the government for improving in various sectors. Lot of researches have been done. So improvement of the conditions of marginal and small farmers, various steps have been taken. Some of the steps we have already started earlier. But today it is under controversy. It is being alleged that it has caused land degradation and due to overuse of chemicals, drying aquifers, vanishing biodiversity. The key word today is gene revolution, which includes genetic engineering. So genetic engineering is recognized as a powerful supplement in inventing new variety, high yield variety of the seeds. Okay, so there is a change in the cropping pattern. In fact, organic farming is much in vogue today because it is practiced without factory made chemicals such as fertilizers and pesticides. Hence, it does not affect environment in a negative manner. A few economists think that Indian farmers have a bleak future if they continue growing food grains on the holdings that grow smaller and smaller as the population rises. So India's rural population is about 833 millions, which depends upon 250 millions hectares of agricultural land, an average of less than half a hectare per person. So Indian farmers should diversify their cropping pattern from cereals to high, this is very important, from cereals to high value crops. This will increase incomes and reduce environmental degradation and simultaneously. A question might come where you will be asked, how will the income of the farmers increase parallelly it will reduce environmental degradation. So the answer is Indian farmers should diversify their cropping pattern from cereals to high value crops. This is because fruits, medicinal herbs, flowers, vegetables, biodiesel crops like jatropha and jojoba need much less irrigation than rice or sugarcane. So India's diverse climate can be harnessed to grow a wide range of high value crops. Now the change in cropping pattern, for example, from cereals to high value crops will mean that India will have to import food, means bring food from other countries. During 1960s, this would have been seen as a disaster. But if India imports cereals while exporting high value commodities, it will be following successful economics, means the successful economies like Italy, Israel and Chile. These countries exports farm products, fruits, olives, specialty seeds and wine, and import cereals. Are we today ready to take these risks? So it's a very interesting thing. So you can go with debate to your friends. So that's the end of this chapter. For any queries, please give your comment. In the next session, or part 2 of this chapter, I'll try to discuss about the questions that is very important within this chapter. If you feel it important, give a like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much.